Hopefully we move someone without touching them.
I think people need to do things that scare the shit out of them.
That's what it's all about. Becoming Player One is a reservoir of stories and experience. It's a promise to show up for ourselves so that we can show up for others. Hey everybody, welcome back to Philosophy Friday here on Becoming Player One. We're back with another Ryan Holiday book today. First we did Obstacles the Way, then we did Ego is the Enemy. Today we're talking Stillness is the Key. Meditation became a huge part of my life. I should say slowing down became a huge part of my life. Around 2020, I was going back to school, I was getting more into reading, and I started to practice meditation. So much so that it became a huge part of my life, like at least 10 minutes a day, 75% of the time. Up until about 3 months ago when I started really working on this podcast. I am lucky if I get 1 to 2 in a week now. I am officially in it, and it's hard to make time. I totally get that, so I hope you enjoy the introduction to Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. I know I am, and then after I record this, I'm gonna reread the book because I desperately need to, so enjoy. The call to stillness comes quietly. The modern world does not. In addition to the clatter and chatter and intrigue and infighting that would be familiar to the citizens of Seneca's time, we have car horns, stereos, cell phone alarms, social media notifications, chainsaws, and airplanes. Our personal and professional problems are equally overwhelming. Competitors muscle into our industry, our desks pile high with papers, and our inboxes overflow with messages. We're always reachable, which means that arguments and updates are never far away. The news bombards us with one crisis after another on every screen we own. Every screen we own, that's hard to say, on which there are many. The grind of work wears us down and never seems to stop. We're overfed and undernourished, overstimulated, overscheduled, and lonely. Who has the power to stop? Who has time to think? Is there anyone not affected by the din and dysfunctions of our time? While the magnitude and urgency of our struggle is modern, it is rooted in a timeless problem. Indeed, history shows that the ability to cultivate quiet and quell the turmoil inside us, to slow down the mind, to understand our emotions, and to conquer our bodies has always been extremely difficult. All of humanity's problems, Blaise Pascal said in 1654, stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Which is why the idea of stillness is not some soft New Age nonsense or the domain of monks and sages, but in fact desperately necessary to all of us, whether we're running a hedge fund or playing in the Super Bowl, pioneering research in a new field, or raising a family. It is an attainable path to enlightenment and excellence, greatness and happiness, performance as well as presence for every kind of person. Stillness is what aims the archer's arrow. It inspires new ideas, it sharpens perspective and illuminates connections. It slows the ball down so that we might hit it. It generates a vision, helps us resist the passions of the mob, makes space for gratitude and wonder. Stillness allows us to persevere, to succeed. It is the key that unlocks the insights of genius and allows us regular folks to understand them. The promise of this book is the location of that key, and a call not only for possessing stillness, but for radiating it outward like a star, like the sun, for a world that needs light more than ever. In the early days of the American Civil War, there were 100 competing plans for how to secure victory and whom to appoint to do it. From every general and for every battle, there was an endless supply of criticism and dangerous passions. There was paranoia and fear, ego and arrogance, and very little in the way of hope. There is a wonderful scene from those fraught first moments when Abraham Lincoln addressed a group of generals and politicians in his office at the White House. Most people at the time believed the war could only be won through enormous, decisively bloody battles in the country's biggest cities, like Richmond, New Orleans, or maybe even D.C. Lincoln, a man who taught himself military strategy by poring over books he checked out from the Library of Congress, laid out a map across a big table and pointed instead to Vicksburg, Mississippi, a little city deep in Southern territory. It was a fortified town high on the bluffs of the Mississippi River, held by the toughest rebel troops. Not only did it control navigation of that important waterway, but it was a juncture for a number of other important tributaries, as well as rail lines that supplied Confederate armies and enormous slave plantations across the South. Vicksburg is the key, he told the crowd with the certainty of a man who had studied a matter so intensely that he could express it in the simplest of terms. The war can never be brought to a close until that key is in our pocket. As it happened, Lincoln turned out to be exactly right. It would take years. It would take incredible equanimity and patience, as well as ferocious commitment to his cause, but the strategy laid out in that room was what won the war and ended slavery in America forever. Every other important victory in the Civil War, from Gettysburg to Sherman's march to the sea to Lee's surrender, was made possible because at Lincoln's instruction, Ulysses S. Grant laid siege to Vicksburg in 1863, and by taking the city, split the South in two and gained control of that important waterway. In our own lives, we face a seemingly equal number of problems and are pulled in countless directions by competing priorities and beliefs. In the way of everything we hope to accomplish, personally and professionally, sit obstacles and enemies. Martin Luther King Jr. observed that there was a violent civil war raging within each and every person, between our good and bad impulses, between our ambitions and our principles, between what we can be and how hard it is to actually get there. In those battles, in that war, stillness is the river and the railroad junction through which so much depends. It is the key to thinking clearly, to seeing the whole chessboard, to making tough decisions, to managing our emotions, to identifying the right goals, to handling high-pressure situations, to maintaining relationships, building good habits, being productive, to physical excellence, to feeling fulfilled, to capturing moments of laughter and joy. Stillness is the key to just about everything. To being a parent, a better artist, a better investor, a better athlete, a better scientist, a better human being. This stillness can be yours. Anyone who has concentrated so deeply that a flash of insight or inspiration suddenly visited them knows stillness. Anyone who has given their best to something felt pride of completion, of knowing they left absolutely nothing in the tank. That's stillness. Anyone who stepped forward with the eyes of the crowd upon them and then poured all their training into a single moment of performance. That's stillness, even if it involves active movement. Anyone who has spent time with that special, wise person and witnessed them solve in 2 seconds the problem that had vexed us for months. Stillness. Anyone who has walked out alone on a quiet street at night as the snow fell and watched as the light fell softly on that snow and is warmed by the contentment of simply being alive. That too is stillness. Staring at the blank page in front of us and watching as the words pour out in perfect prose at a loss for where they came from. Standing on fine white sand, looking out at the ocean or really any part of nature, and feeling like part of something bigger than oneself. A quiet evening with a loved one, the satisfaction of having done a good turn for another person. Sitting, alone with our thoughts and seizing for the first time the ability to think about them as we were thinking them. Stillness. You have tasted stillness before, you've felt it in your soul, and you want more of it, you need more of it. Which is why the aim of this book is simply to show you how to uncover and draw upon the stillness we already possess. It's about the cultivation of and the connection to that powerful force given to us at birth, the one that has atrophied in our modern busy lives. This book is an attempt to answer the pressing question of our time. If the quiet moments are the best moments, and if so many wise, virtuous people have sung their praises, why are they so rare? Well, the answer is that while we may naturally possess stillness, accessing it is not easy. One must really listen to hear it speaking to us, and answering the call requires stamina and mastery. The pages that follow tell the stories of strategies of men and women who were just like you, who struggled as you struggle amid the noise and responsibilities of life, but managed to succeed in finding and harnessing stillness. You will hear stories of the triumphs and trials of John F. Kennedy, Fred Rogers, Anne Frank, Queen Victoria, the list goes on. We will also draw on poetry and novels, philosophical texts, and scientific research. We will raid every school and every era we can to find strategies to help us direct our thoughts, process our emotions, and master our bodies, so we can do less and do more, accomplish more but need it less, feel better and be better at the same time. To achieve stillness, we'll need to focus on 3 domains, the timeless trinity of the mind, body, and soul, the head, the heart, and the flesh. In each domain, we will seek to reduce the disturbances that make stillness impossible, to cease to be at war with the world and within ourselves, and to establish a lasting inner and outer peace instead. You know that this is what you want and what you deserve. That's why you picked up this book. So let us answer the call together. Let us find and lock into the stillness that we seek. Thank you for watching and stay mindful.